Today, in this video, we are covering step by step how to do a pre-order campaign on your own website. So if you are considering Shopify or another platform, this is going to be a really great crash course in exactly what a pre-order campaign looks like, how the marketing comes together for it, and what goes into the success of a pre-order campaign. So today's video is going to be a little bit longer, but you definitely want to make sure that you take notes, and we are going to be actually sharing our screen to go over some strategies, so feel free to take a screen grab of those. So let's get into it. If you're new to my channel, hey, I'm Khierstyn Ross, and on this channel, what we do is we help you with actionable content, just like this video, for how to validate, launch, and scale new brands using your own website, Kickstarter, etc. So with that being said, let's jump into this. So I first want to get on the same page with what pre-sell or pre-order campaigns are. So Kickstarter and Indiegogo are popular crowdfunding platforms, and in this video, we're not covering how to do a Kickstarter campaign, but actually how to apply similar Kickstarter crowdfunding principles to your own website without the risk associated with Kickstarter. So a pre-sale campaign is where you have a new product and customers pre-order that product in advance, meaning they buy it today and they will receive the product in 2, 3, 4 months from now, okay? So this is going to be a really great concept if you want to validate products, great concept if you want to take orders to help fund some inventory investment, another great reason to do pre-sale campaigns. Also, it helps de-risk the process of bringing products to market so that instead of you doing it the old way, which is to buy a bunch of inventory and then sell it, you're able to actually place the order, and then by the time you start to fulfill orders, you have revenue that's already come in to help you pay for that first run of inventory. So doing a pre-sale campaign really helps de-risk the process for you so that you're not outlaying a whole bunch of cash on inventory in the very beginning. It helps you actually generate revenue a lot faster and really flips that cash flow cycle. So that's why pre-sale or pre-order campaigns. In this video, we're just going to get on the same page and call them pre-order campaigns. That's why they are so attractive for business owners. Before we get into the how-to though, one of the biggest questions or objections I get with pre-order campaigns is, why would someone buy a product that they can't get for a few weeks or a few months? Now, what's happening here is likely a bias that you have. So because you may not be comfortable pre-ordering a product does not mean other people aren't. The pre-order process has been proven like time and time and time again. With Kickstarter coming to market back in 2008, over 15 years now, there have been hundreds of millions of customers that have pre-ordered products that they don't get for a few months. So the pre-order concept has proven to be something in the market that most consumers are comfortable with. So if you are coming in with a bias where you don't think that people will pre-order your product, very likely it's because you have that bias yourself, because you wouldn't do it yourself. But again, just because you won't doesn't mean someone else will. In terms of like why people are comfortable buying products that they can't get in advance is because there's usually a novelty factor to it. So when you're bringing a new product to market, they likely can't get that anywhere else, or they're excited for yours specifically, okay? Number two, they want to help support your startup and they want to help new business owners. And number three, early adopters. They want to be the first to get some new awesome product. So there's a lot of reasons why people want a pre-order product. And you're actually going to see today in the strategy we put together for how to do pre-order campaigns that we actually want to sweeten the deal to incentivize people to pre-order your product. And we'll talk about that when we go into how to actually build your pre-order strategy for that. But there's so many reasons why people are not only comfortable pre-ordering a product, but they're completely okay with it, and they're actually excited and willing to wait for your product for a few weeks, okay? But really, I wanted to address that bias because I hear that so often. And it's, that Kickstarter model has been proven over 15 years with hundreds of millions of customers that have pre-ordered product that have had to wait. Okay, so if you have any more questions about that, let me know in the comments, or let's just get into it. So I am going to share my screen because I actually put together a few diagrams that I thought visually are going to really help you understand how the process comes together. Okay, so let's share screen. Okay, so there's a few points to this. Feel free to screen grab, and I actually have this over on my computer. So it's over here, which is why my camera is going to be doing whatever it needs to do. Come on. Okay, so the very first thing I want to start with before we jump into marketing strategy and how to get people to buy your product is, what does the timeline look like for pre-orders, starting to build your audience, when you take orders, when you fulfill, and that sort of thing. So this is a standard launch timeline that we're going to dig into in a second, but we use this with all of our pre-sale campaigns, okay? We recently just did this with a client on Shopify that generated over $20,000 in sales in her first month. This is for a new brand that started with no audience when we started the process. And so with this, we have a pre-order timeline. So this is the same kind of timeline that will happen for a Kickstarter campaign. But again, that's not the subject of this video. This is taking the Kickstarter principles and applying it to your pre-order store on Shopify. Okay. So the very first thing is everyone starts with an idea or a prototype. So you get an idea, at some point you decide to pursue that idea, you start to develop a prototype, you trademark, you start to talk to manufacturers, you do all the kind of behind the scenes things that you need to do to develop that product. And at that point, sometimes these two are not, they're kind of linked. So you have the idea prototype stage, which is where a lot of market validation, product development happens. And then we jump into that part two, which is your pre-launch. So pre-launch is going to be where we start to build our audience. That's where we start getting videos out there for social media. We start to connect with influencers. We start to build that email list. And after pre-launch, at some point in phase 3, you start pre-orders, okay? And we'll get into best practices around all of this, but you start pre-orders, which means that you start taking money from customers who are actually ordering your product in advance. And the pre-order window when you start to take orders and start to take money from customers will be about 8 to 10 weeks before you are going to be shipping product to them, okay? So that is generally the timeline where we have the idea, it jumps into pre-launch, which is all about starting to build your audience, build that wait list. You press go, start to take orders. Yes, customers will pay in full. You can do a deposit if you want for a product, but generally we are taking taking full price for what you're charging for that pre-order discount, okay? And then you jump into fulfillment. So fulfillment is going to be where you are actually shipping items out to your customers and you are no longer in pre-order mode. So fulfillment is the time when you are able to ship in like that, the 2-day shipping, or like, someone can order and it gets shipped right away. Okay, so that is the fulfillment window. That is the high level overview of a timeline of how things look when you bring a new product to market. Okay. Awesome. So next, let's jump into how we start to do things like, what does that pre-launch look like? How do we start to build the audience? How do we start to take pre-orders? Like, how does that all come together? So I want to show you what the marketing funnel looks like, or the customer journey of how we do this, okay? Okay, so very, very first thing, we set up a landing page, okay? So if we're doing a pre-order campaign on Shopify, you have your Shopify website with your product page, your home page, and instead of your store being set to take orders, what you're going to do is actually convert that website into a landing page, which simply means instead of getting people to order your product when they come to your website, you're going to put an email capture on that website. So when someone comes to your product page or your home page, it's going to say, hey, coming soon. Let me actually show you an example of a website of that. So give me a sec. So I think that is important for you to see. So this is one of our clients that are in actually in that pre-launch audience building stage right now. And I think it's really important for you to see that. So we're going to share screen. We're going to do entire screen. Okay, great. So here's what we're going to do. Here's an example of a Shopify website for a new product that is in pre-order mode, right? Or that is in the pre-launch right now, which means that we are focused on building the audience. So this is a Shopify website that has been converted into a landing page. You can see it's been converted into a landing page because we have a join the waitlist email capture here. We also have on the product page, just in case someone goes to check out what the product is, we also have this email capture box. Okay, well, the email capture box should be there. So anyway, we are directing everyone to the homepage, which is a landing page. So that is what it looks like. You don't need to have a separate website. You don't need to use something like ClickFunnels or Unbounce or whatever for a landing page. You can literally, if you are planning on launching on Shopify, you can literally convert your website into that landing page by using a simple email capture box like that. Okay, so now we have context for what that landing page looks like. What we do in the pre-launch period, so going back to how this looks, is we are now in this zone here. We're developing the prototype, we're doing pre-launch, we're building our audience. These two are really, they work together. So pre-launch will start when you're at the point where you are able to start talking publicly about your product. You're able to share photos, share video. Arguably, you can even start to build your audience based off interest before that. So doing the pre-launch is going to be literally, you start to build your audience as soon as you know that you're going live, okay? And as soon as you know that, even if 6 months from now you're launching your product, you need to start building your audience today. So what does that actually look like, and what does that funnel look like? So when I talk about building an audience for pre-launch, I'm talking about building a wait list. So we want to, when we start talking about the product and getting people interested, we need to send them to our website so that they can sign up and join the wait list. This is how we're going to capture interest. Okay, so that is step one of the process. And how we go about building a wait list is two kinds of methods. So we have organic methods at the top here, which are free or inexpensive. And we also have paid methods. So to give you an idea of the kinds of marketing and like spreading the word that we do, if you're someone that doesn't have a huge budget, you're going to lean more into the organic side of things. If you are someone that has a larger marketing budget, then you might lean more into the paid ad side of things. But let's dig into how we spread the word for organic, okay? This will be building your audience comes down to social media, so TikTok, Instagram Reels, still posts, etc. Word of mouth by asking for referrals from friends and family. People really spreading the word. It's from people sharing your posts on social. Influencers or press. So if you have product, that's going to be a really great thing to tap into in the pre-launch. Do you have an existing audience? So maybe you're an existing brand that is launching a new product and you want to tap into this pre-order model. That is organic right in itself because you're coming in with an existing email list or existing social media following. You have brand collaborations. So you might be able to partner with other brands in your space to that share the same audience as you but are not competing products. You might also do a giveaway contest on social media. Okay, so these are just some examples of organic marketing and how it works to take people from seeing a post on social media to going to your website comes down to directing people to say go to the link in your bio that will then click onto your website. Or even you can say when you're sharing things like, hey, check out moxiepatch.com or check out mywebsite.com, okay? You will direct all the conversation into here. Other things, if you're doing, say, pitch competitions, if you are doing a weekend market, if you're doing trade shows to generate some of that awareness, again, you'll be directing everyone to a sign up here. Now, what do the paid side look like? So the paid side is where we do paid ads using Meta. So Facebook, Instagram, Google remarketing, TikTok ads. This is going to be a really great way to scale your message and to quickly build your audience by tapping into a wider demographic. So I think that when we talk about the right marketing strategy, ultimately it comes down to your budget, how much time you have to put into this, and what kind of resources you have. The best pre-launch strategy is a combination of both of these. And when we look at the brand that we generated over $20,000 in sales for, that was done with about $4,000 in marketing spend. Now, in the pre-launch, we only spent about $2,000 building up a bit of a wait list, and then some of that ad spend was allocated during the launch period itself, okay, when we're actually live. But that's what we do, is we need to generate interest by getting people to land on our website, join the wait list, and this is how we get people there, okay? So what happens next, all right? So we're in the pre-launch, we're like building our audience, we're building that email list. How do we then take people from on our email list to buying the product? That's where we go down with nurturing. So I love to call this it's a funnel, or it's a customer journey, because there is time between joining your email list and being able to pre-order your product. Sometimes that could be a few months or a few weeks. So how do you keep people engaged? How do you stay top of mind? How do you take someone from, oh, this looks like an interesting product, to I can't wait to order that product, to actually taking out their wallet? How do you get someone to do that? This is where we look to nurture that list, okay? And nurture, it's not just about nurturing your email list, it's about staying top of mind with your social media following, with all of your efforts. So we look to nurture our audience through consistent email updates. So say you email your list like once a week. If you're doing SMS marketing, it will be great to send a text couple times a month with new content that you've released to keep people in the know. Remarketing. So this is where on the paid side, if you are doing Google remarketing, or you start to retarget some of your warm audiences, this is a great way to stay top of mind, or through social media updates, okay? So there's a whole bunch of things you're doing when we look at funnel strategy, where we have essentially, we're finding new people to fill your wait list, but then we need to keep your existing audience excited. And that's where the nurture phase comes in. So then when we go from pre-launch to pre-order in that third phase, that's where we're getting someone to actually go from on your wait list, following you on social, to pre-ordering your product, okay? So that is what the funnel looks like. And this is the same funnel. It's a little different when you're actually in market and you have product to sell, but you're still actively spreading awareness of your brand. You're still bringing people to your website. You're still nurturing them. You're still building your audience, and you're still getting them to buy. So when you're in market live, this funnel, like the outline of this, is identical if you are an existing seller versus if you're just doing this for a pre-order campaign. So that is how it comes together. Okay, so I'm gonna pause for a second. If you are getting value out of this video, be sure to give it a like, and maybe subscribe if you're liking the content, because your engagement with this video is gonna help it get shared to more people who need to see this content to help with their journey. So be sure to do that. Okay. So before we get into that, also drop any questions that you have below. Even if you're watching the replay of this after, we'll be able to get back to you, maybe create some follow-up videos based on some of the questions you ask. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is show you how this comes together with some planning best practices, okay? So I've broken this down into 3 phases. I've hidden one of the phases, but I want to first talk about the pre-launch audience building phase. So where we're getting to is we're in the point where we're building audience, okay? So this is actively building your audience to build that email list, to build awareness. So, best practices, number one, building your audience has to start as soon as you know you're launching. Um, Rookie mistake that everyone makes, including myself, back when I first started launching products, is people are like, oh, I only need 6 weeks to build my audience. So they just kind of wait and they sit on their product for a bit. No, there's so much that goes into building your audience, like finding your voice, starting to build your following, getting consistent with content, that you want to give yourself as much time as humanly possible to build that audience. So, point number one is start as soon as you know that you're launching. Okay. Yes, this includes existing brands. Number two, build a landing page on your Shopify site with a simple email capture, just like I showed you. Number three, you want to email your list consistently. The CRM that we recommend is Klaviyo.com. However, there are other ones you can use, but we've found that Klaviyo is one of the best Shopify email email CRMs that you can use to like email your list and have automations and stuff like that. So we recommend Klaviyo. This is actually a Klaviyo form that will just pull the information right from your website and add someone to your list. And then we have a follow-up nurture sequence like that. Where are we? Okay. Number four, that goes into have a simple email welcome flow set up automatically in Klaviyo to nurture new subscribers and educate them on your product. So when we go into this part here, part of the nurture phase comes down to not just like, what happens when someone joins your list. If you don't email that, like if you don't have a simple 3 or 4 email flow or automation that they get within the first week of opting onto your list, they will forget about you. So this is one nurture strategy to keep people engaged, start to educate them on your product, build a relationship with them, and start to get them excited. Okay, so that is number four. Number five comes down to, again, different ways that we look to organically build your list through social media, influencers, press, really direct everyone to your website to sign up to your wait list. So everything gets funneled into one spot, which is your website to join that list. And the last one is for pre-launch audience building. If you have a budget that you want to set aside, I highly recommend that you put money into paid marketing, because that's how you're able to not only test your messages to a cold audience, but you're able to more rapidly build your audience, because organic, while it's great because it's free or inexpensive, it takes a long time to build up that first 1,000 social followers, etc. So paid marketing, Meta is still the best for being able to convert a good list from lead generation. However, TikTok is also excellent for building that awareness, especially because CPMs are a little bit lower with TikTok still right now, which is great. And you send people to a landing page to sign up. Okay, so that is how the pre-launch audience building comes together, and some best practices. Okay, any questions? Let me know below. The next step I want to show you is, okay, so we built our audience. We spent a few weeks doing that. Now let's launch and let's start taking pre-orders. So the first question I get is, when should I start to take pre-orders? Now, coming from the Kickstarter world, there are big differences between someone who buys a product on Kickstarter and someone who pre-orders your product. Someone who pre-orders your product on Kickstarter versus someone who pre-orders on your own website. The Kickstarter audience is a lot more, patient, meaning if you are not able to deliver product for 3 to 6 months, that doesn't tend to affect Kickstarter backers as much as it will someone who comes to your own website and sees that. So Shopify customers and people that buy with you directly are going to be more impatient. So you do not want to launch your product until you are about no more than 8 to 10 weeks from when you're going to fulfill. So what that means is that if we're in April right now, if you are not able to deliver your product after, say, mid-July, early to mid-July, so like that 3-month window, then it is too soon to launch your product. And what you're going to find is that people will come to your website, see that they can't get product for a while, like 4 months, and be like, I'm gonna come back in a couple months. So you want to be with Shopify pre-order timelines, you want to make sure that you are definitely as close to being able to fulfill as possible. So that's number one. And how you control that is you want to have started manufacturing already. You want to be really as far into the process as possible. So starting pre-orders on Shopify officially, I do not recommend it if you are literally at the point where you are starting to shop for manufacturers. You want to be at the point where you have a manufacturer, you've completed the final prototype, and you are like, you're ready to start manufacturing. You're there, or you've already started manufacturing. Okay, because what you don't want to happen, and again, if this happens, it's likely out of your control, but it is very likely that there are going to be delays in the manufacturing process. So what you don't want to do or have happen is start pre-orders when you think you're okay on the timeline, and then you have to delay by a couple months, and it's just like you don't want to have to announce delays. So if you can be as far in the process as humanly possible before you take pre-orders, then the chances of you being able to continue to get that momentum going and continue building with a very small likelihood of delays or your timeline changing, that will be in your best interest. Okay, so 8 to 10 weeks from when you will fulfill. So again, big difference between Kickstarter, because with Kickstarter, you can have that final prototype, have signed a contract with the manufacturer, but you don't necessarily have to be farther along in the process than you need to be with Shopify, just, to make sure to reduce friction on that process, okay? Number two, so I addressed this in the beginning of the video, but why people pre-order products they can't get for a few weeks? Because they are novel. So the products that you typically do for pre-orders, they cannot get anywhere else, okay? So there's a theme here that you don't want to use this pre-order model if you are literally white labeling a commodity. So like a product that someone can just get on Amazon. If you have an improvement on a product or a custom product that you've designed, pre-orders work so well because customers literally cannot get your product anywhere else. And so they are willing to wait. They want to be the first to get it. They're excited for a unique product and they want to support new business. So again, if you come into this process thinking that you're so convinced that no one's going to pre-order a product, guess what? It's likely not going to happen because you are imprinting that bias that you have on your whole marketing campaign. So you do need to step into the shoes of someone who, to an industry that is so used to pre-orders. Okay. Number three. So another reason why people want to pre-order is because sometimes there's some really good incentives that brands put on to get people to buy now if they can't get it for a few months. So give people a reason to pre-order through incentives, like give a discount. Are you offering 20% off of your pre-order pricing? Are you bundling a free accessory with it? Are you giving other gifts with pre-order purchase? What is the reason why people should pre-order with you other than it's a great product? If they're essentially being asked to wait a few weeks for product, then make it worth their while. Okay, of course, keep your margins in mind with this, but incentivize them, and where that comes down to is crafting a really good pre-order offer. Okay, because the right offer with the right audience, that is one recipe for a really good launch on Shopify. Number four, communication strategy. So this is something that's not talked about too much online, but communication strategy is this. So when someone buys your product, you want to be sure or pre-orders your product, you want to be sure that they know it is pre-order. Here's how you do that. I want to show you an example of another website. So this is Movie Family. So this is an example of a product that's in pre-order right now. So when someone goes to buy this product, it is obvious that it is pre-order because it says so directly on the website. it says all over the website. So this will avoid, like, being upfront and transparent that this is a pre-order is going to avoid any people who, or reduce, I'm sure you're still going to get some, but customers who after a week after ordering, they're like, hey, where's my product? Because it wasn't made obvious that it is pre-order and when you're shipping. So you want to make it very obvious that it is a pre-order and also when it's being pre-ordered, and also follow up on, when you have like a thank you for your purchase email, those order confirmations, you do want to be sure that you reiterate that it is pre-order. Another thing to note with communication strategy is that you want to be transparent and share product development milestones. So as part of pre-orders, we go back to this nurture period where somebody has given you money for product. They're not going to get their product for 6, 8, 10 weeks. But that doesn't mean that you stop communicating with them. You want to stay top of mind, keep them excited for their order through a different kind of nurture strategy. So what that looks like is you want to share things like production updates, like, hey, we just got our packaging back, or look, here's a photo from the manufacturer, or guess what, it's now on a boat. Give different reasons and milestones for people to be excited and keep them like up to date with the process. And because not only is it like good communication strategy, but this is great content for social media, for sales content, because when you look at your list, you have different kinds of people. You have the people that when you've built your wait list will buy right away. They're like, I'm in, I want to support. They're like day one, they've got their wallet. But then you've got people who are excited, but they want to wait until you are fulfilling. They want to wait until you have product in market, maybe to see what the first reviews are like, etc. Or maybe you just have people who are like, oh, I'll get back to it, I'll buy it on Mother's Day or something like that. By sharing little behind the scenes things like, hey, look, our product is almost ready, or look, we got the first shipment, or whatever that looks like, is going to not only build trust, but also build excitement for people and act as a sales tool to convert more people in your audience, okay? Number 4, paid and organic marketing methods are key. Now you can make them a daily habit to continue to grow your sales. So when it comes to all the marketing that you did, and so all of this in the pre-launch to build your wait list, what you're doing now that you're selling doesn't change too much. The call to action is different, where instead of saying like, hey, we're launching soon, join our wait list, get 20% off. Now it's like, hey, we're live, go buy our product. Like, so that the call to action is different on the website. But so what you're doing, you're still doing paid, you're still doing organic methods. But now that money's coming in, you may be a lot more motivated and you'll definitely double down. But the core habits of what you're doing every single day to build awareness for your product between organic and paid is not going to change too much, okay? So that's where pre-orders start. And pre-orders are going to be, you'll be in pre-order ideally for a couple of months. And then that's when you move into phase 3, which is fulfillment, okay? So fulfillment is when you have product and it's now being shipped to your customers. And that's when someone is able to buy your product today and get it shipped by the end of the week, okay? So this is like, you're in business, people are not needing to wait weeks for product anymore, okay? So what does fulfillment look like? One trick that I found works so well with not just crowdfunding campaigns, but any pre-order campaign is that as soon as the shipment hits the dock and as soon as orders are being shipped to your customers, that is another excuse for a market launch. Here is now where you want to treat when you're starting to fulfill as another launch, because as mentioned before, you're going to have this like segment of your audience that was waiting on the fence until you're actually fulfilling. So you're actually, if you play this right, you're going to have another influx of sales when you launch. We used this strategy with Jamstack a few years ago, where after a launch where we raised over $500,000 on a crowdfunding website, after the Jamstack one was being fulfilled in December, we actually did another like big market launch on their Shopify site and generated, I think, over $100,000 in extra sales, because there were a lot of people just waiting to get out of pre-order mode at that point. So a really cool opportunity. This is another reason to celebrate and convert. Okay. Number 2, there will be a second wave of sales that come in from people in your audience that were waiting for that 2-day shipping to buy. So I don't literally mean 2-day shipping. What I mean is that essentially they're not pre-ordering product anymore. Number 3, something that worked really well for fulfillment is like, now that people are getting product, now is your chance to build out your social proof. So if you can do something like doing a UGC giveaway for customer reaction videos. So what you could do is say, do a contest for the first month for your first few, for any of your pre-order customers, say like, hey, when you post a video of you unboxing the product with your first reaction on social media and you tag us and hashtag something something, then you'll be entered to win a giveaway or you'll be entered to win this thing. So essentially what you're doing is you are incentivizing your customers to give you and post reaction videos for UGC content, which is user-generated content. Great way to source some good content that you can use for other marketing efforts. So that's one thing that you can do. Number 4, I mixed these up when I was doing this. But now that you are in market, people are getting your product, etc., you want to capture their first reactions with a video testimonial app. So you want to give people a chance to actually leave a review on your Shopify site, but don't just use the regular Shopify reviews app. Like, actually upgrade into something like Lux or Yotpo. These are paid services, but they allow your customers to actually upload videos or photos of the product, and those act as sales tools for other people who are browsing your website to see if it's something that they want. So that the $20 a month or whatever you're spending on a Yotpo or Lux is going to pay for itself in dividends, and you absolutely do not want to wait to put that kind of app on your Shopify store. Okay. Number 5, so at this point in your marketing campaign, you've built your audience, you've launched your product, you've sold, you've been doing social posts for a while, you've connected with influencers, maybe you've got some press, like you've been doing some paid ads for a bit now. You now have some data to understand what is working and what isn't. So are there certain customer demographics or psychographics that are working, certain audiences that are working more than others? Have any interesting information come up for like certain kinds of people liking your product or using your product more than others? We worked with a straw that helps you, it's a reusable straw that helps you drink hot beverages. It's sipify.com with that. And really interesting is that while she designed the product for Starbucks lovers like myself so that you're able to have a reusable straw that you could drink hot drinks with without burning your mouth, but it also helps to keep your teeth white. She discovered in like spreading word that there were a bunch of like, it's really good for something like Parkinson's, where people don't have control over like certain like muscular abilities and stuff like that. And so she was able to partner with the Parkinson's Society to help help do that. So I get what I'm badly trying to say with it. This is the live video, so you're just gonna get like the raw me or whatever. But what I'm saying is that like when you start to spread word about your product, new interesting things are going to come up. Like you'll discover certain customer groups or uses for your product that you never thought of. So when we get into point number 5 of like double down on what's working, is you now have a bit of data to see like, hey, this is working, this isn't, let's double down more in this direction, or hey, we're getting a ton of sales from influencers, let's figure that out. So that is what that is. And number 6 is, now that you are fulfilling, assuming that you didn't have product to send to influencers when you were not fulfilling yet, now's the time to start sending product out to influencers, bloggers, press, to try to get those unboxing videos, those reviews, and tap into a bigger audience. And number 7, now that you have product, now is a time for you to double down and invest on getting UGC content, okay? So that's where you can use either a brand spokesperson to create videos on your behalf, or you can use an app like Billow.app, which is a content creator marketplace that you can actually go and hire people to create video reviews of your product. So super, super cool. So in a nutshell, you can see that there is so much that goes into this kind of campaign. But what you're doing is you're building a brand, okay? You're launching a product, and this is the beginning of something absolutely wonderful. So after going through this, we have a couple of ways to help get you expert help if this is something that you actually want to partner with someone on. So be sure to check out some of the resources below this video to help you implement some of these things. If you're looking for a bit of extra coaching or extra support, we have 2 ways to work with us. We have either done for you marketing, where we will partner up with your brand and lead your pre-order campaign or your product launch, or helping you scale your brand to that next level. We also have mentorship programs to help give you access to not only a community of online sellers that are going through the same process, but getting you expert guidance and support to help train your team or you through this process as you launch and scale your e-commerce brand. So outside of that, everything you need is below this video. Thank you for watching. This was a longer one today, but I'm really, really pumped about this. I think there's so much opportunity, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good one.